gentlemen,
It's time for Politics with a Punch.
ringside.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeff Crouere, and welcome to another edition of Ringside. We have a great program lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about very important things, such as about 5G, what that all means in the city of New Orleans. We'll talk about it next, right here on Ringside. Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our next guest has been with us on the radio, and I said, well, why don't you come on the TV show? Let's talk about this, because some interesting topics here. She's a weather modification expert. She's someone that's an anti-5G activist, and we're going to find out what that is. Raphaelle O'Neil is with us. Raphaelle, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for joining us. So tell our viewers a little bit about what 5G is.
Okay, well, right now we're up to the 4G, fourth generation. It's internet providing and makes our phones smart. And 5G is the next generation, the fifth generation of technology. I'd like to tell you what frequency it's on, but that's kind of a mystery subject and point to the issue. And the thing about these are that they're very powerful, but they don't go far, and so they will be they will need a lot of them, and they'll need a few on each block eventually for the. I don't know if you've heard of the Internet of Things, or if your viewers have heard of the Internet of Things, but right now we've got the Internet of People. And they want to basically turn everything into a speaking, talking element of the talking world, of a cyber world.
So this is like, so the next generation, your cell phone, so that it can do more and supposedly be more advanced, everything's
higher
faster.
Frequency, so more
okay.
information.
So they're selling it as something that is an advancement, an
Faster
improvement.
downloads,
right.
there are advantages to
Right.
it for sure.
So
Otherwise
people
it would be appealing.
watching this are saying like, yeah, I want faster downloads. I want all this. And you're saying, hold on, because there could be some health consequences. Let's talk about that.
Well, this is great. And this is what we asked City Council. We said, can you please show us the studies that shows that this technology is safe for humanity? And actually there's starting to be 5G studies, and it's showing that it's not actually, and I'm still assimilating the data, but basically what the studies we do have show that the previous generation 4G cell towers, I notice you have a bunch right outside, they already have health effects and consequences, even our Wi-Fi from our phone, and I'm one of these people, and my
So you've been impacted negatively by the effects of this.
Yes.
And tell us how. If you could.
I was living for a few years by a cell tower, and you know the headaches, the nausea, and I never put it together. And then I moved in a neighborhood, but across the street, still within the cell tower, and I got Wi-Fi and exhaustion. I couldn't go from one room to the other without being completely out of breath. My son was experiencing fatigue. We get headaches that started the same exact moment. And then I got an electromagnetic frequency reader, and I was able to...
Where do you get those?
You can get them online, and this handy-dandy thing has freaked me out, but it also helped me relocate my son's bed to a safer part in the room that had less... So I was able to see, you know, and what you don't want to do is sleep on a bed that has coils or metals can accentuate. Underwire bras will resonate that radiation, and it's radiation is what it is. And so
you think every house should have one of those?
Well, I think that's a good start, but maybe we should look more into. There was a great article about how the FCC basically, when they did set the guidelines, there was some shenanigans going on, and the guidelines were outdated at the time, and they're definitely outdated now. And now we don't know what 5G is. They don't even know what frequency is. They can't even tell us it is safe.
So City Council is now looking at this, and what they're trying to do is get approval for this in New Orleans, whereby they're going to be putting towers, pretty much little mini towers, everywhere, right? All over the city.
So it's like having a cell tower on your block, and they'll need one every few houses or so.
But they're not big towers, they're smaller.
They're small cell, and some of them seem like they may have been deployed already, but the language that is going to allow for, we've heard from critics that we're too late, that the language has already been set up in other, like 3.5 years ago, there was a series of these mysterious towers that have popped out of the blue that nobody knew who they belong to or what they are, and we're in the process of trying to find that out too. So
now there have been a few communities that have turned this down, right? That have said no to 5G.
Yes, and believe it or not, the Bay Area, very tech-friendly, Mill Valley, said not in our residential areas. And also the International Firemen's Association lobbied to say not anywhere near a fireman. And so you have to if you have a strong enough lobby, you can push it back. But the problem is that the FCC is stating that they will allow the carriers to sue anybody who considers they don't have health listed, but environmental reasons health falls under environmental. You cannot consider the environment or that there's school kids or a retirement home in the placement of these towers without getting sued. And I'm challenging the city to take the lawsuit because it's unconstitutional.
So it still is yet to be approved here in New Orleans, right?
Well, the smart and sustainable cities, yes, they're going to be voting on the wireless franchise.
When are they talking about introducing 5G to New Orleans citywide?
And it's more than that. It's forcing smart meters on everybody's walls as well. We're sticking to 5G, but it's part of that. It's also radiation to your home, and it's a very important part of that.
And I've had some callers call in and say they don't like this whole smart meter concept because they're worried about the, I guess, radiation.
Yeah.
And they want to have meter readers, but it's going to cost an extra $13 a month.
But one of your readers had this, your listeners called in and said, well, if it's also more likely to not necessarily double charge you, but you can't measure it going around like you could analog. It's digital, so you take their word for it, and there are complaints that it's 2 to 3 times higher in some parts of the country already. So you'll be saving money by having the reader come out, probably because at least you can measure your good old-fashioned.
Good old-fashioned ways of doing it. Well, let's show our viewers some of the images Raphaelle shared with us, and she's going to explain a little bit about what they're all about. Tell us, what is this show right here?
Okay, well, there's lots and lots of studies. This is one of them, neurobehavioral symptoms near cell towers. And as you can see, fatigue, sleep disturbance, yes, check, headaches, check. Feelings of discomfort. I can't tell you that I'm very sensitive now. See, the thing about it is when you become exposed to it, the more your exposure, the more sensitive you are to it. And there comes a point where you can't go back. Like eventually your body can heal itself with non-ionizing. You're tapping the cells. You're not just given a big whack like ionizing X-rays. You're given little whacks, but eventually the DNA will break. You will get tremendous stress on a cellular level, but it starts with fatigue and any depression, memory loss. Oh, the brain fog. Oh, the brain fog.
And all these you've experienced.
Dizziness, loss of appetite, like nausea. I have movement difficulties, more like going to the bathroom. I'm just exhausted. Like I mean, not the act of. But the moving around subtly took tremendous energy.
Let's show our viewers a little more of what Raphaelle brought for us. This is just a book that you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, there's literature out there. We have a radiation toxicity. The studies say that half an hour a day for 10 years increases your likelihood of getting a tumor on that side of the ear that you were using. So I know I've got more than 10 years worth of listening there. This is your spectrum, your electromagnetic spectrum. So we have different frequencies that we're operating with. And like I said, the thing about the 5G is that it's a mystery frequency with 2.5 gigahertz. But what is the exact frequency that they're going to be? And that's the thing. There's also a hackability to it.
Right. We're looking at this image here about the electromagnetic spectrum. And Raphaelle, I want to ask you about the whole privacy issue. That's a concern as well, right?
Well, absolutely, it's a concern. I just posted a video edit of the C-SPAN meeting on the Capitol Hill hearing on cybersecurity, which is an oxymoron, you know that. And it's 2 hours that were frightening, where they acknowledged the dangers and then agreed to proceed in trying to, despite the tremendous risk. And one of the risks is imagine a USB port on an airplane when everything's connected.
Right.
If you get the right hack, and how do you set a standard when there's global electronics? So it's a thing, yeah.
And we also want to show viewers a few other images of some of these folks who have been, protesting around. And these are some different suggestions for what people can do to limit their exposure, right?
Yes, definitely turn your Wi-Fi off at night. Distance from cell phone, carried in airplane mode, especially in a car when you're going to have all that metal around you. Call in speakers, speakerphone or headsets. You want to hardwire. You can opt out of your smart meter. In New Orleans now is the time because they're coming down in Kenner too. hardwire internet. I did that, and
Not
that
Wi-Fi.
helps.
Not Wi-Fi.
Not Wi-Fi. That's right. And we can use fiber optics. That's a really viable option, and we've paid for a lot of that infrastructure already. These are people that are so sensitive, you can't even come to their building with your phones on because you'll burn them. This is how bad it gets. I mean, we know that radiation does have effects. They say, well, it doesn't go past the skin. You know, people are upset about this. We have calves that have cataracts, that are born with cataracts that are next to cell towers. So we know that it's penetrating past the skin, even though it's non-ionizing.
So in our final minute or so, you think we're not being told the truth here about the damaging effects of all this?
Well, I think the precautionary principle is going towards the favor of industry and not humanity. And with all the evidence that we've gone too far already in this technology without consideration of humanity's true risk, we're about to lay out a whole other layer of blanketing on top of everything else. And this is a disaster.
But even someone like you who knows all of this, you have a cell phone, right?
I have a cell phone, and I have to take precautions. And it's like using the devil's technology to fight the devil, kind of. There's a limitation, and I can't wait till I'm done with this so I can get back in the garden and plant my trees around New Orleans instead, because it's killing me. It really is. I have nervous.
Right.
So
you know of others with similar effects.
Oh, I do. Yeah. And like for instance, when they came to hardwire my phone, my internet, they didn't for a week tell me it was on Wi-Fi, and I was starting to get sick, and my son as well. And then I actually found the studies that validated that viruses can be released from the radiation, and I experienced
that. As far as getting information out to people, you do have a YouTube channel that we can let people know about. It's NOLA Butterfly, and if you want to go on there, Raphaelle, you've got all kinds of different videos posted there, right?
Sure, yes. So I will be posting information there, but specifically for 5G, you can go to Stop 5G NOLA on Facebook. Urgent health, human hazard.
Right. Okay. Well, good information. Thank you very much.
For human health hazard. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate the chance to get this out.
Certainly have an opportunity at least to discuss and debate and delve into this.
And I invite people to look into it for themselves. The literature is thick. The peer-reviewed research is thick.
And you don't really hear a lot about it in the mainstream media, do you?
No, but we heard it here, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We did. All right. Thank you so much, Raphaelle. Great to be with you. Thanks for joining us. All right. When we